The following program contains shocking amounts of wit. If you suffer from dim-wittedness, this show might not be right for you. Check with your mortician.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. The host who has no equal. He uses sweet and low. Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your servant Randall. Oh, what? I don't even understand half of these stupid insults. Oh, I'm good. I'm really good. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Today's show brought to you in part by the United Nations Security Council. They have an agenda. They're just not sure what it is. And by the nation of France. Ooh, look at him flex those muscles. Je ne parle français, monsieur, but I want to. I'll be right back after a quick word from my friend, Joey the Hammer.
As you can understand, we have a lot of time here to consider what we would like to do when we get out. I thought about going up to my cousin Vinny's outfit in Chicago. The problem is this guy, Emmanuel Ram, is trying to redistribute the power bases of the various family companies, and we don't know how it's going to shake down. I thought about going into the Muslim Brotherhood. A lot of assets being transferred, a chance to make a little something. But these people are crazy. This Allah thing and the being in here in prison with these Muslims, they're morons. I want nothing to do with them. Then I thought, well, New York City, it won't work. They broke up the family business. The feds did when they unjustly prosecuted us, I might add. Then I thought to myself, perhaps I could go to work for my friend Harry Reid. Harry's in Vegas. We've got numbers that we can run out there. And my father told me, God rest his soul, when I was a young man, he said, son, if you can go into the government, do it, because it is the ultimate in organized crime. Harry Reid, I'm going to come and see you when I get out.
Welcome to today's program, friend. Why do I have this big grin on my face? Because I want to talk about Obama's speech, why we're in Libya. Today's breaking news. Do you see that happy face right there? President Obama. I listened to his speech. I watched his speech. And I'm not kidding. He moved me. Is this a joke? No, I'm not joking. He actually moved me. I found myself agreeing with Barry Hussein Obama, my president. My president. Look, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Just remember that, okay? And one of the great problems that a lot of people have is they don't want to give the devil his due. So I'm prepared to give the devil his due. When a man is right, he's right. No, I didn't say he was 100% right. And that brief euphoria that I had, finding myself agreeing with him and wanting to stand and put my hand on my chest and salute the flag and say, yes, that moment of euphoria passed fairly quickly. It was over. But nevertheless, I want to play for you a couple of clips and comment about him, where he got it right, where he got it wrong, and what actually could be the danger here. Because when it was all said and done, and I really was moved at one point, I thought, no, we still have a major problem, Mr. President. So let's play the first clip. This one will be sort of for comic relief. Go ahead, Andrew.
He has denied his people freedom, exploited their wealth, murdered opponents at home and abroad, and terrorized innocent people around the world, including Americans.
All right, now, who are we talking about again? See, that's when it started to go downhill for me, because I can think of a great number of dictators who fit that tab perfectly. So why are we going after Gaddafi and not the king of Saudi Arabia, not the leader of Syria, not the lunatic at the helm in Iran? Why are we picking on Gaddafi, the one guy who, of the sponsors of terrorist nations, submitted to our will and then came in out of the cold? I don't get it. All right, so at this point in the speech, I'm not convinced. And then he gave us the summary. Andrew, play the summary.
In just 1 month, the United States has worked with our international partners to mobilize a broad coalition, secure an international mandate to protect civilians, stop an advancing army, prevent a massacre, and establish a no-fly zone with our allies and partners.
All right, now, all kidding aside, that actually is impressive. Later on, the president mentioned the fact that when the atrocities were happening in Bosnia, it took the international community over a year to respond. In Rwanda, they never responded, basically. So the fact that something of this nature, we're talking about working with an international coalition, securing a mandate for the United Nations, stopping an advancing army, preventing what could have been a horrible massacre, and establishing a no-fly zone in such a very truncated amount of time, that actually is impressive in today's world. Now, some of us disagree with what's going on in Libya, and in our next break, I'm going to play for you the part of the president's speech that I thought was actually awesome. Really and truly awesome. And then I'm going to tell you why I think it's problematic. So stay with me through the break. But what has been accomplished in 30 days is actually impressive. And taking the Libya situation out of the way, there will be, not there may be, but there will be situations in the future where this type of speed and resolve is going to be of great value for freedom and justice. Please, God, make it so. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, 2 more clips, and then in our segment after that, we've got a new singing telegram from a really pretty girl.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. That explains a lot about why they'll be white.
Moments with Moses. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them.
Welcome back to the program, friend. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton about to head back to Europe. What's she going to do? Andrew, play the clip.
Secretary Clinton will go to London, where she will meet with the Libyan opposition and consult with more than 30 nations. These discussions will focus on what kind of political effort is necessary to pressure Gaddafi, while also supporting a transition to the future that the Libyan people deserve. Because while our military mission is narrowly focused on saving lives, we continue to pursue the broader goal of a Libya that belongs not to a dictator, but to its people.
Well, there are 2 huge problems with what we just saw. Number 1, the opposition leaders are connected to Al-Qaeda. In case you missed the news over the last 24 hours, there was an interview, an exclusive interview granted with an Italian newspaper by the rebel leader. And guess what he divulged? He's got a lot of friends in Al-Qaeda, that he participated personally, and some of those that are close with him have participated with Al-Qaeda. Yes, have fought in Afghanistan, and if my memory is correct, in Iraq. Friends, this is a problem. At the very time when Gaddafi said he would back away from Al-Qaeda and would help the U.S. against Al-Qaeda, an opposition comes along that's connected to the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda, and now Secretary of State Clinton is going to meet with them? One other point. President Obama said, well, we want a Libya that belongs to the Libyan people. Do you understand that in over 1,000 years of basically Islamic reign in Libya, that they have no history whatsoever of democracy? They're used to being governed by a strong man. They're used to the concept of the caliphate, of a successor, somebody who embodies the political, military, ideological, and religious authority in one person. All right? So to say it's going to be given to the Libyan people is ludicrous, practically speaking. In a concrete situation, these folks don't know what to do. All right. What I want to do now is I want to play this last clip. This is where Obama really had me. I'm not kidding. This clip really touched me because I agree in principle, but there's a problem. and I want you to see if you can discern it. Andrew, play the clip.
Much of the debate in Washington has put forward a false choice when it comes to Libya. On the one hand, some question why America should intervene at all, even in limited ways, in this distant land. They argue that there are many places in the world where innocent civilians face brutal violence at the hands of their government, and America should not be expected to police the world, particularly when we have so many pressing needs here at home. It's true that America cannot use our military wherever repression occurs. And given the costs and risks of intervention, we must always measure our interests against the need for action. But that cannot be an argument for never acting on behalf of what's right. In this particular country, Libya, at this particular moment, we were faced with the prospect of violence on a horrific scale. We had a unique ability to stop that violence, an international mandate for action, a broad coalition prepared to join us, the support of Arab countries, and a plea for help from the Libyan people themselves. We also had the ability to stop Gaddafi's forces in their tracks without putting American troops on the ground. To brush aside America's responsibility as a leader, and more profoundly our responsibilities to our fellow human beings under such circumstances, would have been a betrayal of who we are. Some nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries. The United States of America is different. And as president, I refuse to wait for the images of slaughter and mass graves before taking action.
All right, I admit it. This part of the speech got to me. And let me tell you why. Number one, I reject the Ron Paul idea, the Pat Buchanan idea, that America shouldn't get involved in squabbles anywhere else in the world. That is not a Christian view of government. Have you ever heard of the just war theory or the Augustinian just war theory? Well, it's anchored in Christian theology and Christian ethics, and one of the key elements of it is that a nation can go into another nation to redress wrongs done, to protect innocent human life, to secure justice. So President Obama's speechwriters did a great job in that segment of outlining a just war theory. The details matter. One of the key elements of just war is that you have a likely prospect of success, and that you're doing this to avoid some great evil. And so, do we want to see the images like we saw in Rwanda? If Gaddafi's forces really were going to go in and just indiscriminately start killing civilians, do we really want to see that? No. Now, I'm going to tell you why ultimately he lost me. Number one, President Obama is not trying to pursue Christian justice. At the end of that segment, he talked about the basic human rights that all of us want to see flourish throughout the world. Later on in the speech, he said this, and I agree. But fundamental to those basic human rights are the right to life, the freedom of religion. And he did not want and does not want to export justice that is based upon Christian ethics. Mr. Obama would be happy to have Planned Parenthood get rooted in Libya, have them give out condoms and birth control to their teenagers so that they could fornicate. He'd be happy to see abortion mills set up. He'd be happy for the militant homosexuals to have homosexual marriage or to have homosexuals in the military. In other words, Mr. Obama's speechwriters did a fairly good job of outlining certain principles of just war laid out by St. Augustine and St. Aquinas, St. Thomas, others, but he did not have a true package that he could export to Libya that would be a gift of justice. It would instead be a gift a poison of debauchery. And for that reason, I ended up grieving, because we really do have the finest military in the world, the finest military in the history of the world. And that military should and must be used for the protection of innocent life, for the promotion of justice, for the protection of the innocent. But I fear that President Obama is not the right man to have at the helm for that. In that light, when we come back, I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to bring a singing telegram to you for President Obama from a very talented young lady. Don't go away.
A nation without a conscience is a nation without a soul. A nation without a soul is a nation that cannot live. Sir Winston Churchill.
Welcome back to the program, friend. Have you ever wondered what it would look like if Julia Andrews met Randall Terry? I think it would look something like this.
Will hide for 1,000 years. The Libyan skies are ablaze with fire. The UN will tell us why. Will tell us why. I have a little boy who is 8 years old, who could make a better plan than to say, I don't know when this war will end. They say that we may give them all some guns to fight this for themselves. But wait, who are they? Don't they hate the USA? I want to cheer Obama's name, but I have a brain.
That moved me. Since we're on a roll in Libya, why not Saudi Arabia too? All right, fine, I'm not going to try and upstage her. She was better than me. I got to take a break. We'll be right back from one of... Cut tape! Ready? Cut!
For behold, God is my helper, and the Lord is the protector of my soul. Turn back the evils upon my enemies, and cut them off in thy truth.
Samuel Adams said, "How strangely will the tools of a tyrant pervert the plain meaning of words." When we listen to President Obama talk about justice, we have to at least listen with suspicion. Because in President Obama's world, justice includes the right, I say that in quotes, to kill your baby, the right for two people of the same gender to be married, the right to redistribute wealth. The word justice must be anchored in sacred law. Our Maker is who defines justice and injustice, good and evil, not President Obama, not Karl Marx, and certainly not the United Nations. Now, to love your neighbor as yourself means that if your neighbor is beaten up and lying in a ditch, you save him. And so, if we did know that there were people that were going to be butchered and slaughtered by Gaddafi, I'm glad that we got involved. The question is, what are we going to leave them with when we are done? It might be worse than what was there before. God help us.